The world moves fast and feelings hit hard. You react before you even think, swept away by a tide of frustration, worry, or anger. It feels automatic, as if you are just a passenger in your own emotional life. But what if that is not the whole story? Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That power is the heart of a philosophy called Stoicism, with roots stretching back 2,000 years. It is not about suppressing what you feel, it is about transforming it. This video offers a clear, step-by-step process for emotional mastery, a practical framework built on ancient wisdom for modern challenges. You will learn a repeatable method to pause your reactions, question your assumptions, and choose your response with clarity. We will explore how a single thought can change everything and what it truly means to be free from the chaos of unchecked feelings. What is the one thought that most often disrupts your own peace? Every emotional reaction begins not with an event, but with your initial interpretation of it. This is the starting point of Stoic emotional transformation. There is a crucial gap, a moment of space between something happening and you feeling a certain way about it. In that space lies your freedom. The ancient teacher Epictetus put it plainly. We are troubled not by things but by the views which we take of them. The event itself is neutral. It is the story you instantly tell yourself about the event that carries the emotional charge. This first lightning-fast story is what the Stoics called an impression. It is not a feeling yet. It is the raw data point, the initial spark of a judgment that, if left unchecked, will grow into a full-blown emotional response. Think about the last time you received some thoughtful feedback at work. The event is simple. A message arrives or a comment is made, but your mind does not receive it neutrally. It instantly serves up an impression. Perhaps it whispers, "They think I could do better," or "This is not what I expected." That whisper is the impression. It is the first and most critical point where you can intervene. Your power does not lie in stopping the impression from appearing. It lies in refusing to immediately agree with it. Before you feel the warmth of frustration or the cool sense of concern, there is that single thought. What was the very first thought that popped into your head the last time you felt unsettled? Identifying that initial spark is the first and most essential step toward understanding your emotional world. What if the thing that unsettled you today was, in itself, completely neutral? An event happens, a simple fact in the world, but the emotional weight, the frustration or disappointment you feel, is not in that fact. It is in the label you immediately place upon it. We are the ones who color events with our own interpretations of good or bad, of setback or inconvenience. Emotional strain does not come from the events themselves, but from the stories we tell ourselves about them. Marcus Aurelius offered a powerful piece of guidance for moments like these. He said, "Remove the judgment, and you have removed the thought, 'I am affected.'" Remove the thought, "I am affected," and the feeling itself is eased. He is not saying the event did not happen. He is saying you can set aside the dramatic label, the "this changes everything" story, and what remains is simply what occurred. Consider a delayed flight. The plane is late. That is the objective reality, a simple fact. The inner tension begins when your mind labels that fact as a major disruption to your carefully laid plans. The frustration, the anxiety, the simmering irritation all stem from that judgment, not from the delay itself. The event is neutral. Your interpretation of it is what holds the power. Take a moment and think of a small frustration in your life right now. Perhaps an untidy kitchen, a slow internet connection, or a remark from a colleague. Now try to describe it using only pure, factual, neutral terms. The dishes are in the sink. The web page is loading. He said those specific words. Do you feel the subtle shift? The emotional intensity begins to soften when you separate the bare facts from the story you have been telling yourself about them. This is not about ignoring your feelings, but about understanding their true origin. The single most liberating idea in Stoicism is understanding what is yours to manage and what is not. This principle, known as the Dichotomy of Control, acts as a filter for your mental energy. It teaches you where to direct your focus and where to release your grip. The Stoic teacher Epictetus laid this foundation with remarkable clarity. Some things are within our control, while others are not. Within our control are our own opinions, impulses, desires, and aversions. What is not in our power are our body, our property, our reputation, and our public offices. In essence, your inner world, your judgments, and your choices are your sovereign territory. Everything else, from the weather to what others think of you, belongs to the external world you can influence but never fully command. Think about preparing for a job interview. You can control your preparation. You can research the company, practice your answers, and choose your clothes. You can control your effort and your attitude on the day. These actions belong to you. What you cannot control is who the other candidates are, the specific questions the interviewer will ask, or the final decision they make. The outcome itself is not yours to manage. When you pour your energy solely into your own preparation, you act with confidence and purpose. But when you anxiously fixate on the result, you hand your peace of mind over to a decision that is not yours to make. The frustration that often follows such situations almost always stems from trying to control what was never within your power to begin with. Take a moment to consider 3 things that are occupying your mind with worry right now. Write them down if you can. Now draw a simple line down the center of a page. On one side, write "within my control," on the other, "outside my control." Place each worry in its true column. Is that comment from a coworker in your control column? No, their opinion and their words are theirs. Your reaction, your judgment of their comment, and your subsequent actions, however, are firmly in your column. Is the traffic on your commute home within your control? No, but your decision to listen to an audiobook instead of simmering with impatience absolutely is. This simple act of sorting is not just an exercise, it is a profound recalibration of your attention. It moves your focus from the chaos you cannot stop to the clarity you can always create. This shift in focus is where emotional transformation truly begins, by redirecting your efforts from what is ultimately unchangeable to what is always and forever your own. Stoics train to see the world not as they wish it to be, but as it truly is. This practice is known as objective representation, a disciplined way of looking past the dramatic stories we layer onto events. It is the art of perceiving the raw facts of a situation, free from the emotional coloring we so quickly add. Marcus Aurelius was a master of this. He would regularly remind himself to strip away the conventional value judgments attached to things. He would look at a lavish meal and see not a gourmet delight but the simple components. He wrote that fine food is just a fish that has been prepared, and expensive wine is merely fermented grape juice. He was not being cynical. He was performing a mental exercise to see the object for its fundamental reality, not for the prestige or desire we project onto it. The goal is to view life with the detached curiosity of a natural scientist observing facts in the wild, without a personal stake in the outcome. This is not about becoming cold or unfeeling. It is about creating a small space between you and the event, a buffer zone where your initial, reactive story does not get to automatically become your truth. Think about the modern experience of social media. You see a post that upsets you. The immediate impression might be, they are insulting me, or my work is not good enough. Now apply the lens of objective representation. Look at the screen. Describe what is actually there in purely factual terms. There are pixels of light arranged into specific words on a glass surface. A person pressed keys on a device and this image appeared. That is the objective event. The feeling of insult, the sense of inadequacy. These are the layers of judgment you have added to those neutral pixels. The practice is to consciously separate the two. For the next minute, take a situation that is currently causing you stress. It could be a work deadline, a disagreement, or a household chore. Now describe it aloud or in your mind using only bare objective facts. Do not use words like frustrating, unfair, or overwhelming. Simply state what is happening. I have a document to complete by Friday. My partner said they would take out the trash and they have not. The laundry basket is full. Do you notice how the emotional volume lowers when you remove the charged commentary? The situation itself may still require action, but the turbulent feelings surrounding it begin to settle. This is the power of seeing things as they are, not as our fears and desires paint them to be. What hidden rule or expectation was violated to cause that feeling of anger or disappointment? That initial spark of judgment we call an impression is almost always fueled by a deeper, often unexamined belief. Your emotional reactions are not random. They are the logical conclusion of a set of rules you carry with you, a personal code of how the world should operate. The Stoics understood that our distress is frequently a product of our own faulty assumptions. Seneca captured this perfectly when he wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The event itself is a small part of the story. The real drama unfolds in the theater of your mind, directed by the scripts of your core beliefs. These are the silent shoulds and musts that govern your expectations. I must be perfect to be valued. Other people should always treat me fairly. The world ought to be convenient. When reality inevitably clashes with one of these rigid rules, the emotional friction is immediate and intense. Consider the common experience of feeling hurt or annoyed when a close friend does not text you back. The objective event is simple. You sent a message and a reply has not arrived. The initial impression might be, they are ignoring me, but pause and look deeper. What is the underlying belief that gives that impression its power? It is likely a rule like a good friend must always be available and responsive. This is the core belief. The emotion of disappointment is not really about the silent phone. It is about the violation of your internal rule book. The Stoic practice here is to become a gentle investigator of your own mind. When a difficult emotion arises, do not just feel it. Trace it back. Ask yourself, for this specific feeling to make sense, what must I believe to be true about the world? Your frustration in a traffic jam points to a belief that your commute should be fast and effortless. Your anxiety before a presentation reveals an assumption that you must be judged as perfectly competent. These beliefs are the architects of your emotional world. Take a moment now and pick one recent minor frustration you experienced. It could be from today or yesterday. Now, trace that feeling backward. What was the specific expectation you held that reality did not meet? Was it the belief that your household should always be tidy, that your plans should never be interrupted? Identifying this hidden rule is like finding the source code for your reaction. You'll begin to see that you are not merely a passive recipient of circumstance, but an active participant whose beliefs are shaping your entire experience. This discovery is the gateway to a profound and lasting change. What if you could want only what is good for your character, regardless of the result? This is the heart of the Stoic discipline of desire, a profound redirection of your deepest aims. It is not about giving up on wanting things, but about wanting the right things for the right reasons. The Stoics trained themselves to place their greatest longing on acting with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. External outcomes, from wealth to reputation, were seen as preferred or not preferred, but never as true goods. Your genuine well-being lies solely in your excellent use of reason and your moral choice. Epictetus pointed to the core of the matter when he said, "Do not seek to have events happen as you want, but want them to happen as they do happen, and your life will go well." He is not advocating for passive resignation. He is revealing the difficulty of demanding that the world conform to your personal wishes, a demand that often brings frustration. The discipline of desire is about aligning your inner compass with what is always and entirely within your power, your own intention and action. Consider an athlete training for a major competition. The natural default desire is to want to win, to stand on the podium, but that result is not fully within their control. A stronger competitor might show up, an unexpected physical challenge could occur, the judging may be subjective. If their entire sense of success is tied to that gold medal, they set themselves up for potential disappointment. The Stoic athlete shifts their primary desire. They still prefer to win, but their core desire is to perform to the absolute best of their ability, with focus, courage, and integrity. They want to move through the effort of training with resilience, to respect their opponents, and to accept the final result with grace, whatever it may be. Their victory is no longer defined by the medal, but by the quality of their own effort and character. This reframing transforms the entire experience from a source of anxiety into an opportunity for growth. Take a moment to identify one external thing you strongly desire right now. Perhaps a promotion, a certain relationship, or a financial goal. Now, ask yourself a different question. In the pursuit of this, how can I desire to act with virtue? If you want the promotion, shift your primary desire to wanting to work with diligence, to collaborate with fairness, and to lead with wisdom, regardless of who gets the position. If you desire a particular relationship, focus your want on being a person of kindness, patience, and understanding within that connection. The object of your desire may or may not come to pass, but your capacity to act with good character is a success you can always achieve. This realignment is the ultimate source of inner stability. Stoicism is not a passive philosophy. It is a call to right action undertaken for the benefit of all. This is the discipline of action, the how of living these principles in your daily life. It asks you to focus your energy on doing what is good and just, not because you will be rewarded, but because it is the right thing to do in and of itself. Your motivation shifts from seeking a particular outcome to fulfilling your role with integrity. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself of this duty. He wrote, "In the morning when you rise unwillingly, let this thought be present: I am rising to do the work of a human being. Why then am I dissatisfied if I am going to do the things for which I exist and for which I was brought into the world? Or have I been made for this, to lie in the bedclothes and keep myself warm?" His focus was not on the comfort of the moment, but on the action required of him for the common welfare. The goal is to act with kindness and purpose, and then to release your attachment to how that action is received or what it produces. Consider the simple act of helping a colleague with a difficult project. You could do it with an eye on your manager, hoping for recognition or a future favor. That action is tied to an external reward. The Stoic approach is different. You help because it is the right thing to do, because collaboration strengthens the team, and because offering your skill is a service. You do the work thoroughly and with goodwill, and then you let it go. Whether your colleague is grateful, whether your boss notices, these outcomes are not your primary concern. Your success is in the quality of the action itself, in having acted in accordance with your nature as a rational and social being. This mindset liberates you from the anxiety of results and the frustration of unmet expectations. It allows you to act with a clean and unwavering purpose. Think about tomorrow. What is one small, concrete action you can take that serves the common good without expecting anything in return? It could be as simple as listening deeply to someone without interrupting, offering genuine encouragement, or completing a shared task with extra care. Do not do it for the thank you. Do it because it is the work of a human being. This is how the inner transformation of your desires meets the outer world through your hands. Before you buy into a distressing thought, you have the power to say, "Not so fast." This is the discipline of assent, the Stoic practice of being the mindful gatekeeper of your own mind. It is the crucial moment of choice between an automatic reaction and a reasoned response, the space where you decide whether to grant a passing impression the authority to become your truth. The ancient teacher Epictetus offered a brilliant distinction that clarifies this entire process. He said, "Remember, you are not carried away by the event itself, but by your own assent to your judgment of the event." The impression that someone has spoken harshly does not cause your anger. Your anger is born the instant you internally nod and say, "Yes, that is true, they have spoken harshly." Your assent is the final seal of approval that turns a spark of thought into a fire of feeling. Consider the sharp, sudden pang of jealousy. The initial impression might flash through your mind, "They are being treated better than I am, this is unfair." The untrained mind immediately assents. It agrees with the story of unfairness, and the emotional turmoil of jealousy takes hold. The practice of the discipline of assent is to intercept that initial thought before you agree with it. You notice the impression, you acknowledge its presence, and then you consciously withhold your agreement. You say to yourself, "Not so fast. Is this thought completely true? Is there another way to see this situation? Am I perhaps misunderstanding their intention?" By pausing to question, you break the automatic chain that leads from impression to emotional reaction. You move from being a passenger on a runaway train to being the one who can gently apply the brakes. For the next 24 hours, try a simple but powerful experiment. Make a quiet commitment to yourself that before you internally agree with any negative thought about a situation, you will pause for just 5 seconds. In that brief space, do not fight the thought, simply observe it. See it as a piece of data that has arrived, one that requires your rational examination before you grant it permission to stay. This tiny gap is where your freedom lies. It is the difference between being ruled by your first impressions and becoming the author of your reasoned responses. Imagine looking down on your life from a great height. The rush of your daily concerns, the tightness of a pressing worry. How does it all appear from that vast distance? This shift in perspective is a powerful Stoic exercise known as the view from above. It is a deliberate mental practice designed to shrink the ego and reduce the perceived size of our troubles by placing them within the immense context of the cosmos and the long flow of time. Your individual life, with all its passions and problems, is a single, small point in a much larger story. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced this to maintain his composure. He would write reminders to himself, observing how all the bustling cities of his empire were merely tiny anthills, and the great conflicts of his time were just the squabbles of little creatures. He noted the vastness of the ocean, the endless sweep of the stars, and saw his own brief life as a mere moment in that eternity. He was not diminishing his own existence, but rather putting it into its proper, humble scale. The goal is not to feel insignificant, but to recognize that your current crisis is not the center of the universe. It is one event among countless others. Take a stressful work deadline. It feels all-consuming, a mountain of pressure that blocks out everything else. Now, apply the view from above. Visualize your entire life as a long, winding road. This deadline is one single pebble on that path. Zoom out further and see it within the history of your field, then within human history itself. From that vantage point, its overwhelming weight begins to lighten. It is still a task to be completed, but the catastrophic story you might be telling yourself about its importance softens. The practice dissolves the artificial walls your anxiety builds around a problem, revealing it to be a small, manageable part of a much grander picture. So take a current problem that feels heavy on your shoulders. Now mentally zoom out. How will you view this challenge 1 year from now? Will it even be a memory you can easily recall? How about 10 years from now, or even 100? From that future point, what truly matters about how you handled this moment? The view from above does not erase your responsibilities, but it does drain the drama and panic from them, leaving behind only the clear, quiet space for your reasoned action. There is a profound difference between fearing what might happen and preparing for it with a clear mind. This practice, known to the Stoics as the premeditation of future challenges, is not an exercise in pessimism. It is a kind of vaccination for the soul against future misfortune. By mentally rehearsing potential difficulties or changes, you inoculate yourself against the paralyzing shock of their arrival. You are not inviting trouble, you are building a psychological immune system. The Stoic philosopher Seneca was a strong advocate of this mental training. He would regularly set aside time to gently imagine the possibility of losing his wealth, his status, even his own physical comfort. He wrote that he would practice living with less so that he would not fear it. He would reflect on the idea of moving to a new place so that he could see it as merely a change of scenery. In doing this, he was not dwelling on hardship. He was performing a powerful act of gratitude and resilience. By consciously facing what concerned him, he diminished its power to disturb his peace. He discovered that his true self, his character and his reason, could remain intact even if his external circumstances were different. The goal is to remove the element of surprise from potential difficulties, which is often the source of our greatest anxiety. Imagine you have an important presentation. The common approach is to hope for the best, to visualize a flawless performance and an engaged audience. But what happens when the projector does not work, or your voice feels strained, or the room seems quiet? Without preparation, these moments can trigger worry. The Stoic method is to walk through these scenarios beforehand, not with dread but with calm problem solving. Mentally rehearse what you would do if the technology fails. You might have printed notes as a backup. If the audience seems unresponsive, you could plan to ask a question to re-engage them. By visualizing these hurdles and your calm response, you transform them from overwhelming unknowns into manageable situations you have already faced in your mind. This practice builds a deep-seated confidence that is not dependent on perfect conditions. Now, take a moment to choose one thing you deeply value and feel concerned about. It could be your work, a meaningful relationship, or your daily comfort. For just a few minutes, calmly and gently imagine your life if things were different. Do not focus on any sense of lack. Instead, focus on your own inner capacity to adapt. What resources would you draw upon? What strengths within you would rise to the surface? How would you begin to move forward? This is not a negative exercise. It is a declaration of your own resilience. You are reminding yourself that your worth is not in your possessions or your position, but in your unshakable ability to choose your response, no matter what life brings. Do not just tolerate what life brings, but learn to love it as if you had chosen every single moment yourself. This is the ultimate reframe, the Stoic attitude known as amor fati, the love of fate. It is the final, most profound step in emotional transformation, moving beyond simple acceptance to a deep, active embrace of reality in all its forms. The Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius embodied this when he wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." He saw every event, even the difficult and unwanted ones, as fuel for his own inner growth. This is not about pretending that hardship feels pleasant. It is about shifting your fundamental relationship with it, trusting that within every obstacle lies the raw material for building greater strength, wisdom, and resilience. Amor Fati asks you to see your life as a perfectly woven tapestry where every thread, the dark and the light, is essential to the complete picture. Think of a missed opportunity that felt like a difficult moment at the time, perhaps a job you did not get or a relationship that changed. The immediate feeling is real, but the practice of loving your fate invites you to look back with new eyes. How did that closed door ultimately redirect your path? Perhaps not getting that job encouraged you to develop a new skill that led to a more fulfilling career. Maybe the shift in that relationship taught you a vital lesson about your own boundaries or what you truly value in a connection. The event itself remains the same, but your story about it transforms from one of disappointment to one of necessary redirection. This perspective trusts in a rational cosmos, a universe where even the most challenging experiences are not random events, but opportunities crafted specifically for the development of your character. Now bring this into your own life. Think of one past difficulty, a specific event that caused you frustration. Take a moment and write down or simply reflect on 3 potential ways this experience ultimately served you. Did it reveal a hidden strength you did not know you possessed? Did it deepen your capacity for understanding others? Did it steer you away from a path that was not truly right for you? By actively searching for the benefit, you are not denying the hardship. You are performing an act of profound alchemy, turning the weight of challenge into the gold of wisdom. This is the final, liberating shift from seeing yourself as someone shaped by circumstance to becoming the grateful student of your own entire life. The simple act of writing down your thoughts can create the space needed for Stoic wisdom to emerge. When your mind is a whirlwind of impressions and judgments, the page becomes a quiet field where you can lay each one out for careful examination. This is the practice of Stoic journaling, a way to objectify your internal world and observe it with the detached clarity of a scientist. Your swirling anxieties and hasty conclusions look different when they are no longer just voices in your head, but words on a screen or paper. You externalize the chaos, and in doing so, you gain the cognitive distance required to question it. Marcus Aurelius himself was not writing a formal philosophical treatise for publication. His work, Meditations, was his personal journal, a series of notes and reminders composed for his own eyes alone. He was practicing this very method, using writing to untangle his own judgments and reinforce his principles. He would pose questions to himself and then reason his way toward a virtuous response, turning the page into a training ground for his character. The power of this practice lies in its structure. Instead of letting your thoughts run in endless, anxious loops, you guide them with purposeful prompts. Try this specific question the next time you sit down to write. What is truly within my control in this situation, and what virtue can I practice here? The first part directs your attention back to the dichotomy of control, separating your own actions from external events. The second part shifts your focus from what is being done to you to what you can actively become. Are you facing a disagreement? Your prompt leads you to write that you cannot control the other person's words, but you can practice the virtue of justice by listening fairly, or the virtue of courage by stating your own view with respect. This transforms a reactive emotional situation into a proactive exercise in character. Tonight, before the day closes, give yourself the gift of 5 minutes with a notebook. Write about one challenging event from your day. Do not just recount what happened. Instead, focus your writing on the judgments you formed in that moment and how you chose to respond. Were your initial impressions accurate? Where did your power truly lie? This small, consistent practice builds the mental muscle of pause and reflection, turning daily life into your most valuable Stoic classroom. Strength training for the soul begins with a simple, radical choice. By occasionally choosing to feel a chill, experience hunger, or step into mild discomfort, we build a kind of immunity to the fear of those states. This is the Stoic practice of voluntary discomfort, a deliberate and temporary embrace of life's smaller challenges. It is not an act of self-punishment, but a powerful exercise in proving to yourself that your peace and your character do not rely on perfect external conditions. You are building a foundational resilience that quietly says, "I can handle this," long before life asks you to. The Roman philosopher Seneca, a man of immense wealth, regularly set aside time for this very practice. He would wear simple clothing, sleep on a hard bed, and eat only the most basic food for a few days. He did this not out of necessity, but to remind himself that a good life was possible even without his riches. His aim was to appreciate what he had by understanding he could live well without it. He wanted to hear his own wealth, as he put it, without feeling alarmed by the thought of it being gone. This practice gently loosens the anxiety that so often clings to our comforts, that quiet worry that we might not manage if they were taken away. The applications in modern life are simple and accessible. You might choose to take a cool shower instead of a hot one, not for any health trend, but for the mental discipline of accepting a small physical challenge with calmness. You could skip a meal and sit with the sensation of hunger, discovering that the feeling is temporary and manageable. For a short trip you would normally drive, you could choose to walk, embracing the weather and the extra time as an opportunity for reflection rather than an inconvenience. These are not grand gestures of deprivation. They are small, controlled experiments in self-mastery. They teach you that discomfort is a signal, not a sentence, and that your mind remains your own even when your body sends a complaint. This week, make a quiet commitment to one small act of voluntary discomfort. It could be as simple as turning off the heating in your car for a 5-minute drive, or leaving your phone behind during a lunch break. Do not fight the feelings that arise, simply observe them. Notice the initial resistance, and then the quiet realization that follows. You are still you, intact and capable, even when slightly cold, slightly hungry, or slightly disconnected. What does that realization feel like in the quiet moments that follow your choice? Remembering that you will one day transition is not a dark thought. It is the key to living a focused and meaningful life. This ancient practice, known as Memento Mori, is not about cultivating a sense of dread, but about awakening a profound sense of clarity and purpose. It is the ultimate tool for cutting through the noise of daily distractions and remembering what is truly essential. The Stoics saw the contemplation of our finite time not as a fixation on endings, but as a vital exercise for the soul. Marcus Aurelius regularly turned his mind to this universal truth to ground himself. He wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He was not being dramatic. He was using the reality of his own eventual journey as a compass, ensuring that his actions were aligned with his deepest values in the present moment. He saw this transition not as a terrifying conclusion, but as a natural part of the cycle of existence, something that happens to every single person, plant, and star. This reflection acts as a powerful filter. when you hold the awareness that your time is limited, the trivial frustrations and vain ambitions that so often consume your mental energy suddenly lose their grip. That petty argument, that desire for recognition, that anxiety over a minor mistake, how important do they seem when viewed against the backdrop of a life that is both precious and fleeting? The practice strips away the non-essential, leaving behind only what truly deserves your attention and your effort. One practical way to cultivate this awareness is to keep a simple, symbolic reminder in your environment. It does not need to be a direct representation. It could be a smooth stone you keep on your desk, a particular piece of art, or even a specific tree you see on your daily walk. Let this object serve as a gentle, private nudge. When your gaze falls upon it, let it prompt a single question. Am I spending this irreplaceable moment on something that truly matters? This is not a call to frantic activity, but to purposeful living. It shifts your focus from simply passing time to investing it wisely in what builds character and connection. So let me ask you a question designed to bring this clarity into sharp relief. If you knew for certain that you had 1 year left to live, what would you stop doing immediately, and what would you start doing more of? Your instant, honest answers are a direct line to your core values. The things you would stop are likely the drains on your spirit, the people-pleasing, the worry over opinions, the busy work. The things you would start are almost certainly the nourishing acts, the deeper conversations, the time with loved ones, the creative projects you have been putting off. This exercise reveals that the path to a life well lived is not a mystery. It is available to you right now, the moment you choose to remember what is most real. Stoics identified 4 primary passions that can overwhelm our reason and lead to inner difficulty. These are not the everyday emotions that add texture to life, but powerful and irrational currents that pull us away from our own balanced judgment. The ancient Stoics viewed them as disturbances within the soul, movements so forceful they could obscure our ability to see things as they are. They described the first passion as distress, an irrational tightening in response to a present challenge, a surge of sorrow or frustration about something occurring now. Next is fear, an agitated avoidance of an anticipated future difficulty, a dread that colors what might happen with the most troubling shades. Then comes craving, an irrational reaching for a future desired object, an intense longing that convinces you happiness depends on obtaining something. And finally, excessive excitement, an irrational swelling over a present pleasure, an overwhelming giddiness that ties your entire sense of well-being to a temporary experience. Consider the philosopher Chrysippus, who carefully studied these inner patterns. He saw them all as growing from a single source, our mistaken judgment that confuses external conditions for true benefit or harm. When you become convinced a new possession is essential for your contentment, that is craving taking hold. When you are absorbed by worry about a future presentation, imagining every potential stumble, that is fear obscuring your view. These passions are wearing because they make you dependent on circumstances beyond your command. Your peace becomes tied to getting what you want, avoiding what you dislike, or holding tightly to what pleases you. This constant grasping and resisting is the origin of much of our internal unrest. Pause for a quiet moment and reflect on your recent emotional experiences. Can you recognize a strong reaction that felt all-consuming, one that drew you away from your center? Was it a sharp feeling of distress over some feedback you received? A lingering worry about a discussion you need to have? A restless craving for a new device that seems to promise so much? Or a giddy excitement about a kind word that you found yourself wishing would last? Simply identifying the passion, understanding it for what it is, becomes the first step in loosening its grip. You are no longer just caught in the feeling. You are noticing it as a specific pattern with a name and a character. This slight change in viewpoint creates room for your reason to return and pose the most valuable question. Is this feeling grounded in a clear evaluation of what is genuinely helpful or unhelpful? Or is it an irrational turbulence that will, like all passing weather, eventually settle? For every destructive passion, Stoicism offers a rational and healthy counterpart, a good feeling cultivated by a wise mind. These are not the fleeting excitements that toss you about, but deep, steady currents that flow from living in harmony with your own nature. The Stoics called these balanced states the eupatheiai, the good passions. They stand in clear contrast to the turbulent ones we have explored. Where there is irrational fear, you can cultivate a reasoned caution. In place of a desperate craving, you can practice a calm and virtuous wishing. And instead of a giddy, excessive delight, you can experience a profound and lasting joy. These good feelings are not about suppressing your emotional life, but about elevating it to a more stable and reliable form. They are the emotional rewards of a life lived with clarity. Seneca touched on this when he described the joy of a wise person as being steady and peaceful, a state that does not elate them in success nor depress them in difficulty. This is not a flat, emotionless existence. It is a rich and resilient inner world, built on a foundation of truth rather than the shifting sands of circumstance. Consider the difference between fear and caution in a high-stakes situation, like making a significant investment in your business. Fear is irrational and paralyzing. It whispers catastrophic stories of total loss and public failure, freezing you in place. Its only function is to make you avoid the risk altogether, often at the cost of a great opportunity. Caution, its rational counterpart, is entirely different. Caution is clear-eyed and proactive. It calmly assesses the potential downsides, researches the market thoroughly, and develops a thoughtful, step-by-step plan to mitigate the genuine risk. Caution does not scream in panic, it calculates with reason. It allows you to move forward intelligently, respecting the challenge without being dominated by the dread of it. The feeling is not one of anxiety, but of focused preparedness. Now, bring this to a more personal level. Think back to a time you accomplished something meaningful, perhaps finishing a long-term project or mastering a difficult skill. Recall the feeling of giddy excitement, the kind that makes you want to tell everyone and rides on a wave of external validation. That is the fleeting delight the Stoics identified. Now contrast that with the quiet, steady sense of fulfillment that settled in afterward, the deep satisfaction that came not from the applause of others, but from the private knowledge that you saw something through with diligence and integrity. That calm, enduring warmth is the Stoic joy, a feeling that remains with you long after the initial buzz has faded. It is a joy sourced from your own virtuous action, and therefore it cannot be easily taken away. Can you identify a moment in your own life where you felt this deeper, more resilient form of joy, a contentment that was not dependent on anything outside of yourself? You are not an isolated island. Stoicism teaches that we are all limbs of the same great body, each of us a vital part of a single, interconnected organism called humanity. This profound understanding is the Stoic principle of sympathy, the belief that we are woven into a shared fabric with all people and the cosmos itself. Recognizing this bond is not just a philosophical idea, it is the very source of our duty and compassion toward one another. Marcus Aurelius captured this beautifully when he wrote, "What brings difficulty to the hive brings difficulty to the bee." Your well-being is intrinsically tied to the well-being of the whole. An act of unfairness or unkindness toward another person is, in this view, something that weakens the entire system, including yourself. When you act with kindness, you are not just helping another limb, you are strengthening the entire body to which you belong. This perspective transforms your interactions from transactions into acts of mutual care. Consider the next time you feel a surge of frustration in a crowded store, standing behind someone who is moving slowly or struggling with a payment. The automatic impression might be one of inconvenience, a story about your valuable time being wasted, but the practice of sympathy invites you to see differently. Look at that person not as an obstacle, but as a fellow limb of the same body. They have their own complex journey, their own private worries and burdens you know nothing about. Their slowness is not a personal offense against you, but a reflection of their own current struggle. This shift in viewpoint does not make the line move faster, but it dissolves the anger and replaces it with a quiet patience. Your frustration is eased because you have reconnected with the truth of your shared humanity. Today, I invite you to perform one small, anonymous act of kindness. It could be letting a car merge into your lane with a wave, paying for the coffee of the person behind you, or simply offering a genuine, unexpected compliment. Do not do it for recognition or thanks. Perform this act as a silent service to the whole human community, as a reminder to yourself that you are a caring part of something vast and interconnected. How does it feel to contribute to the health of the hive, simply because you are one of its bees? Progress in Stoicism is accelerated when you walk mentally alongside those who have already mastered the path. You do not need to figure everything out on your own. The wisdom of countless thoughtful individuals is available to you, a living library of character waiting to be consulted. The Stoics themselves were avid students of exemplary lives, drawing strength and direction from the virtuous figures who came before them. They understood that surrounding yourself with good examples, even in your thoughts, is a powerful way to cultivate your own good character. When faced with a difficult choice or a surge of frustration, you can pause and pose a simple but profound question. What would a person of great wisdom and courage do in this exact situation? This is not about imitation, but about inspiration. You are borrowing another's perspective to illuminate your own. Seneca's letters to his friend Lucilius are a perfect example of this. Through his writings, Seneca became a virtual mentor, guiding Lucilius through the practical application of Stoic principles in daily life. He was not just teaching abstract ideas, he was offering a model for how to think, how to react, and how to live. You can create a similar counsel for yourself by building what might be called a personal cabinet of mentors. This is a short list, perhaps 3 to 5 individuals whose character you deeply admire. They can be historical figures like Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, modern leaders known for their integrity, or even someone from your own community whose actions consistently reflect wisdom and fairness. The key is that you select them for their virtue, not merely their accomplishments. Once you have your cabinet, your next step is to go deeper with one of them. Choose a single figure and research one specific challenge they faced. How did they respond to public criticism, like Socrates accepting his situation with calm dignity? How did they handle a major professional setback or navigate a period of personal transition with resilience? Look past the surface of the event and into the quality of their character that it revealed. This week, select one person for your cabinet and learn the story of one hardship they met with wisdom. How does understanding their response change the way you view your own current challenges? Stoic mindfulness is the gentle awareness of your own mind from one moment to the next. It is the element that connects every other practice, turning them from separate exercises into a continuous way of living. This timeless concept, known as prosoch, is not a passive or drifting attention. It is the active and disciplined work of observing your inner world, watching the flow of your thoughts and impressions to see if they align with reason or might lead you away from it. You are the guardian of your own mind, and this is the art of keeping watch. Epictetus spoke of the deep importance of this attentiveness. He taught that we must carefully observe our opinions and the things we are drawn to or wish to avoid because they shape all our actions. Your guiding faculty, your hegemonicon, is the center of your awareness, the place where impressions arrive and judgments take shape. Prosoch is the practice of maintaining a soft but steady focus on that very center throughout your day. Imagine your mind as a clear and still pool of water. Every impression that touches its surface is like a small stone, creating ripples that move outward. An untrained mind can become lost in those ripples, carried away by the movement. The practice of Stoic mindfulness is to notice the stone the moment it lands, to observe the ripples it creates, and to choose whether to engage with the movement or simply allow the water to return to its natural calm. This is active observation, not passive reception. A helpful way to develop this is to set occasional and gentle reminders for yourself. You might program your phone to chime at unexpected times during the day with a simple and non-judgmental question. What is your guiding faculty doing right now? When the alert sounds, do not react with frustration. Use it as a signal to pause for just 3 seconds. Take a quiet mental snapshot of your inner state. What thought was just moving through your mind? What quiet judgment were you in the middle of forming? Are you accepting an impression of frustration from a delayed message? Are you building a story of concern about an upcoming meeting? This brief check-in creates the important space between impulse and action. To weave this practice into the rhythm of your day, choose one routine activity as your mindfulness anchor. Let that activity be your personal signal for a quick review of your judgments. For example, every time you take a sip of your morning coffee, let that be the moment you ask yourself, what is the quality of my mind right now? As you feel the warmth of the cup, turn that same gentle attention inward. Are you already holding the weight of the day's responsibilities? Are you rehearsing a challenging conversation? The taste of the coffee becomes a sensory reminder to return to the present and observe the stories you are telling yourself. This is not about stopping your thoughts, but about seeing them with clarity. What story will you notice yourself believing the next time you lift your cup? Anger is a temporary madness, and Stoicism offers a powerful antidote. Pause and dissect. It begins with a flash of heat, a tightening in your chest, a story of injustice that demands an immediate, sharp reaction. Yet this is the precise moment your training must begin. Seneca, in his powerful work on anger, gave the clearest instruction: the best cure for anger is delay. Do not demand or forbid anything from the person in that first heated moment. Give your orders to your own mind instead. Your first and most critical command is simple: do not act. Do not send the email, do not raise your voice, do not make the gesture. Your initial task is to create a physical buffer between the impulse and any action at all. This might mean you deliberately take a slow, deep breath. You might excuse yourself and walk to another room. You could even count silently to 10, not as a childish exercise, but as a way to mark the passage of those first crucial seconds where the initial fire is at its hottest. This pause is not a sign of weakness, but an act of immense strength, a declaration that you, not the emotion, are in command. Once you have created that small space, your next step is to turn your reason upon the anger itself. Remember the impact this passion has, not on the other person, but on you. Anger is like picking up a hot coal with the intent to throw it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned first. It clouds your judgment, strains your body, and pushes you toward words and actions you will almost certainly wish you could take back. Ask yourself, is this emotional storm improving the situation or my ability to handle it wisely? The answer is almost always a clear no. Now, shift your perspective. Make a sincere effort to consider the other person's point of view. This is not about excusing poor behavior, but about understanding its origin. Perhaps the person who cut you off in traffic is rushing to a family emergency. Maybe the colleague who sent a terse email is themselves under immense pressure and did not think through their words. Everyone is fighting a hard battle you know nothing about. Seeing this wider context does not make their action right, but it does drain the personal sting from it, reducing the feeling of a targeted attack. Finally, with a cooler mind, pose the two most important Stoic questions. Is my intended response proportionate to what actually happened? And is it useful for resolving this constructively? Shouting in traffic changes nothing about the other driver and only ruins your own peace. Firing back an angry online comment rarely leads to understanding and usually escalates the conflict. A proportionate and useful response might be to simply let the traffic incident go, or to write a calm, factual reply asking for clarification on the comment. The goal is to move from a reaction of blind retaliation to a response of clear-headed problem-solving. Take a moment now and write down your personal anger delay plan. What is the one physical action you will commit to taking the very next time you feel that familiar heat rising? Will you close your eyes and take 3 deep breaths? Will you stand up and pour a glass of cold water? Will you write your thoughts on a piece of paper and then tear it up? Having this plan ready in your mind transforms a theoretical idea into a practical tool. It means that when the moment arrives, you are not scrambling for a solution. You are simply executing a pre-arranged strategy for your own peace. What single physical act will you choose to create that life-giving pause? Anxiety pulls us into an imagined future, while Stoicism teaches us to firmly plant our feet in the present moment. We are often preoccupied with what might happen, creating entire stories of potential difficulty that have not yet come to pass. This is why Seneca observed that we often struggle more in imagination than in reality. We are troubled not by future events themselves, which may never occur, but by the vivid pictures our own minds paint of them. The future, by its very nature, lies outside our direct control, which makes anxiety about it an unhelpful use of our mental energy. The only point where our power truly exists is in the here and now, in the immediate present where we can actually take action. When you find yourself spiraling into concern about a looming deadline, a difficult conversation, or a financial uncertainty, the Stoic response is to gently but firmly interrupt that pattern. Ask yourself one simple question: what can I do about this right now, in this very moment? Break the large, vague cloud of anxiety into a single, concrete, present-moment action. If you are thinking about a presentation next week, the answer to what you can do right now might be to write the first 3 bullet points of your outline. If you are reflecting on a medical test result, the action you can take now might be to simply drink a glass of water and take a short, calming walk. The practice is to continually re-anchor yourself from the stormy sea of what-ifs to the solid ground of what is. If your honest answer to the question is that there is absolutely nothing you can do about the situation at this very moment, then your task shifts. Your work is no longer about solving the problem, but about consciously releasing the mental grip on it. This is an act of discipline, of trusting that you will handle the situation when it arrives in the present, not while it is still a thought in the future. Identify your single biggest current source of concern. Take a piece of paper and write it down. Now, directly beneath it, complete this sentence. One small, concrete action I can take today, which is entirely within my control, is to. Your action might be to make one phone call, to organize one drawer, to spend 10 minutes in focused preparation, or simply to decide not to dwell on it for the next hour. This is how you reclaim your mind from the uncertainty of tomorrow by investing your effort in the actionable reality of today. The Stoic practice of gratitude is an active rebellion against the human tendency to focus on what is lacking. While desire pulls your attention toward what you do not have, gratitude firmly redirects it to the abundance that is already present, often hidden in plain sight. This is not a passive feeling that occasionally washes over you. It is a disciplined exercise of perception, a deliberate search for the good woven into the fabric of your daily life, including the threads of hardship. Marcus Aurelius began his own days with this powerful mental ritual. In his private writings, he listed not only the obvious blessings like his family and teachers, but also the people who had been difficult or had presented him with challenges. He expressed thanks for them, recognizing that their complex behavior had taught him patience, humility, and the true meaning of tolerance. He was training himself to see every single person and event as a necessary part of his development, appreciating the rough stones for how they polished his character. This reframes gratitude from a simple thank you for pleasant things into a profound acceptance of life's entire curriculum. To weave this into your own life, begin a nightly journal with a specific structure. Each evening, write down 3 things for which you are grateful. The first 2 can be the simple, beautiful gifts, a warm meal, a friend's laughter. But make the third entry a conscious appreciation for one difficult thing from your day. Perhaps a frustrating delay taught you a lesson in patience. Maybe a critical comment highlighted an area where you can grow stronger or more understanding. The act of writing forces your mind to search for the hidden benefit, performing the alchemy that turns leaden experiences into golden insights. Right now, without moving, take a quiet mental inventory. Express silent thanks for 3 ordinary things you typically take for granted. The steady electricity powering your device, the roof that shelters you from the weather, the simple miracle of your next breath. Do you feel the subtle internal shift as your awareness settles on these foundational gifts? This daily discipline of gratitude does not change your circumstances, but it fundamentally changes you within them, building an unshakable foundation of contentment from which you can meet anything that comes your way. Temperance is the virtue that ensures you enjoy life's pleasures without becoming their slave. It is the quiet strength of mastery, not the loud struggle of deprivation. This Stoic practice is about exercising your choice and reason over your impulses, particularly around the things that so easily capture our attention and desire. It is the difference between deciding to have a piece of chocolate and feeling an uncontrollable need to finish the entire box. The ancient teacher Musonius Rufus emphasized that mastering our appetites was fundamental to a life of freedom. He taught that we must train ourselves to choose food and drink not for pleasure, but for nourishment, and to prefer a simple life over one of constant wanting. He saw this self-command as the very foundation upon which all other virtues are built. When you cannot say no to a harmless pleasure, you are not truly free to say yes to a greater good. Consider the modern world of digital consumption. Your phone offers a constant stream of entertainment, information, and social connection. There is nothing inherently wrong with any of it. The challenge arises when the impulse to check a notification overrides your intention to focus on a task, or when an hour of scrolling leaves you feeling more drained than refreshed. This is where the practice of digital temperance comes in. It is not about deleting your accounts or swearing off the internet forever. It is about consciously choosing to limit your consumption to set times, perhaps designating 30 minutes in the evening for news and social media, and then putting the device away. You are not rejecting the tool, you are reclaiming your attention and your time. You are proving to yourself that you are in charge of the impulse to refresh and scroll. What is one area in your own life where a small overindulgence has become a quiet habit? Perhaps it is the second helping of dinner when you are already full, the extra 20 minutes in bed that make you rush, or the online shopping that feels more like a compulsion than a choice. For the coming week, choose just one of these areas and plan a single, specific act of temperance. Decide you will leave one bite of food on your plate at each meal, or that you will get up the very first time your alarm sounds, or that you will wait 24 hours before making any non-essential online purchase. This small, deliberate act is not about punishment. It is a gentle rehearsal of your own sovereignty, a daily reminder that your choices, not your cravings, direct your life. Every night, the Stoic sage holds a private court to review their own performance. This is the evening review, a quiet and honest look at the day now ending. You step into the roles of both witness and judge, not to punish yourself, but to learn from the evidence of your own actions and reactions. Seneca was a devoted practitioner of this ritual. In his letters, he describes how he would question his own soul each night. What challenges have you overcome today? He would ask. What habits have you resisted? In what way are you wiser? His aim was not self-criticism, but self-correction, a daily realignment with his deepest values. The process follows a simple, three-part structure that brings clarity from the day's complexity. First, ask yourself, where did I drift off course today? Be specific and gentle. Did I speak from frustration instead of patience? Did I invest mental energy in an outcome I could not control? This is not about listing shortcomings, but about identifying the specific moments where your actions moved away from your principles. The second question is, what did I do well? Acknowledge the small victories. Perhaps you paused before reacting to a difficult message, or you chose to help someone without any expectation of return. Celebrating these moments strengthens the pathways of thoughtful action, making them more likely to happen again. Finally, ask, what could I improve tomorrow? This turns reflection into a plan. If you noticed you were quick to judge a colleague, your plan might be to seek their perspective first thing in the morning. This transforms a moment of learning into a clear intention for growth. For your own review, try this simple template tonight. Take a notebook and write just a few lines. Start with one moment where you successfully applied a Stoic principle, like recognizing what was within your control. Then, note one instance where you could have done better, perhaps where a hidden expectation led to frustration. End with one small lesson you are taking forward. The goal is progress, not perfection. This nightly conversation with yourself is the quiet engine of lasting change. What single lesson from today will you carry into tomorrow? The goal of a Stoic is not to never feel a difficult emotion, but to recover from it more quickly and wisely each time. This path is a continuous training of the soul, not a race to a finish line where you become perfectly unshaken. You will have days when a sudden frustration catches you off guard, or an old concern finds a new way to whisper in your ear. These moments are not signs of failure. They are the essential repetitions in your practice, the very material you use to build resilience. The ancient teacher Epictetus offered a powerful analogy for this journey. He said, if you are running and you fall, you do not lie there and declare yourself a failure. You get up and you run again. Falling is not the failure. The only true failure is choosing to stay on the ground. Each time you notice a reactive thought and pause before agreeing with it, each time you trace an irritation back to a hidden expectation, you are getting back up. You are completing another repetition. Think of your emotional challenges as weights in a gym for your character. You would not expect to lift the heaviest weight on your first day. You start with what you can manage, and with consistent practice you grow stronger. A missed opportunity to pause is not a defeat. It is simply a signal that this is the exact weight you need to practice with now. So take a quiet moment and look back over your recent efforts. Where have you noticed even a small, gradual shift? Perhaps you caught yourself beginning to spin a story of frustration about a delayed package, and instead of feeding that story, you simply noted the fact that the package is late and moved on with your day. Maybe you felt the heat of a sharp reply rising and you chose to take one deep breath instead of speaking. That tiny space, that momentary pause, is a monumental victory. It is measurable progress. What is one area, however small, where you can see your own strength growing? Individually, these are tools. Together, they form an unshakable operating system for a calm and purposeful life. Each practice you have learned is not a separate technique, but a vital component of a single, integrated process for emotional transformation. Acknowledging your initial impression creates the space to apply the 3 disciplines of assent, desire, and action, all of which are supported by the broader views of the dichotomy of control and the view from above. This entire system is embodied in the ideal of the Stoic sage, the figure of perfect reason and virtue we strive to emulate in our own ongoing progress. They are not someone who never feels a sting, but someone whose entire mental framework is designed to process that experience with wisdom and return to center with incredible speed. Consider a complex modern scenario like facing a significant career shift. The event is clear. You learn that a promotion you deeply wanted has been given to someone else. The initial impression arrives with force, a sharp sense that this is unfair and a personal disappointment. Your training begins here. You pause and apply the discipline of assent, withholding your immediate agreement with that story. You examine the impression with objective representation, seeing it as a simple fact. A decision was made by other people based on a complex set of factors. You then turn to the dichotomy of control, sorting the elements. The final decision was outside your control, but your judgment of it, your effort, and your next actions are entirely within it. This realization allows you to practice the discipline of desire, shifting your primary want from obtaining the specific title to acting with virtue in response to the news, perhaps with professional grace and resilience. The view from above then helps you see this not as a catastrophic end, but as one event in the long arc of your career, a single pebble on the path. Finally, the evening review provides a space to reflect on how you handled the moment, celebrating the pause you took and planning how to channel this experience into renewed, purposeful action. This is how the system works in concert, each part supporting the others to transform a potential crisis into an opportunity for character development. The sage does not avoid the situation. They move through it with a composed and purposeful clarity that we can all learn to cultivate. Now, take a moment to map out your own Stoic response plan for a recurring stressor in your life. Choose 2 or 3 specific practices from our journey. If you often feel overwhelmed by a heavy workload, your plan might start with objective representation to strip away the emotional story, then move to the dichotomy of control to focus only on the next single task, and end with a premeditation of challenges to calmly prepare for potential interruptions. Writing down this simple sequence makes it a ready mental toolkit, turning abstract philosophy into your personal protocol for peace. This journey is a reminder that your emotional life is not something that happens to you, but something you build with your own hands, one conscious thought at a time. It is the deliberate and repeatable practice of pausing before you react, of questioning the stories your mind instantly tells you, and of choosing to focus your energy solely on what is yours to manage, your judgments and your actions. This is how you move from being swept away by passion to standing firm in a reasoned peace. The ultimate freedom, as Epictetus taught, is not in changing the world around you, but in diligently training yourself to want what happens. He said, "Do not seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and you will go on well." This alignment with the nature of reality is the source of a profound and unshakable tranquility. The entire path from a troubled heart to a quiet mind is available to you, not in some distant future, but in the very next moment you choose to pause and remember your power. We would love to hear which single step in this process resonated most deeply with you. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you are ready for more practical wisdom to navigate life's challenges, subscribe to the channel. Your own transformation begins with your very next choice.